The Impact Investing Institute is a non-profit. We were established in 2019, and we have the modest goal of changing capital markets so that they're fairer and work better for people and the planet.
Our specialism is working with places, with investors, with cities, with government institutions all around the UK and beyond. And our focus is about place and making places grow more sustainably, more inclusively. And that's why we're working with the Impact Investing Institute and Lloyds Bank on this programme.
4.5 million homes in the UK don't meet the adequate home standard, and that's typically in regard of energy performance criteria. 30% of homes in the UK, and this is particularly in large cities, are responsible for CO2 emissions. In some of the most deprived areas, that rises to about 48%. So 48% of a city's emissions are generated by housing stock that isn't fitted and isn't sustainable. Based on those eye-watering statistics, this is a real call for action. The work that we're doing is a partnership project to look at the question of how can we accelerate incremental investment in areas of high social deprivation that will deliver not only a commercial return for shareholders, but also a social return for communities.
We know what regeneration funding is, but too often that's about a building, about a shopping centre, about a shop, or just about homes. It's not thinking about the wider social, environmental goals that can go with that. Place-based impact investing is about taking these traditional kinds of activity and really doing them for a purpose that's beyond the building. And that will help to achieve more sustainable communities, reduce carbon emissions, and in the end that produces better places.
Domestic retrofit will be a really important part of our work to tackle the climate crisis. Addressing the energy inefficiency of our kind of residential property in the UK is really important. The financial structures associated with that are quite complex, and they're just being kind of developed and worked up now to enable private finance to help fund retrofit. But actually, if investors take a place-based approach and a place-based impact investing approach and look past that one transaction in terms of funding one programme of retrofit, it may well be that they find opportunities to invest in, for example, the small businesses in a place that will be part of the supply chain for that retrofit programme. And that creates multiplier effects. So not only is the climate action being funded, but you're also creating high quality local jobs. And that means, in turn, that the climate action that you're funding is fairer. One of my favourite examples of place-based impact investing is an investment made by Nottinghamshire Pension Fund in 2016 into Nottinghamshire Community Energy to help them build a solar farm. So Nottinghamshire Community Energy used this investment alongside government support through the feed-in tariff, and they also issued a share scheme for local residents and businesses. And they've now built a 5 megawatt solar farm, which is part community owned. It generates clean energy for 1,150 local homes. They contribute, I think it's £20,000 a year to a community fund, and that investment generated around about a 7% return for investors. So that's a really, really great example of how institutional investors can work with local projects and communities to deliver really impactful projects, both in terms of environmental benefit and social benefit.
One of the things we've learned through this project is that impact investing is not as easy as traditional investing. Business as usual is banks and other institutions lending against assets. Impact investing is about going the extra mile, looking to identify the social, the environmental, community benefit. And that requires getting more boots on the ground, more people working on the schemes, and actually that's quite resource intensive. So better to get those costs defrayed across a variety of deals than just one, because then you get better value for money as well.
Financial institutions have got a pivotal role to play. We have a burden of responsibility, both in terms of our existing client base and our existing lending, making sure that we're not accelerating finance and investment into non-green industries, industries that pollute, but at the same time, and more positively, we're channeling incremental investment into companies, be they small, medium or large size companies, who are focused on sustainability and delivering net zero.
We do just need to make sure that kind of social impact stays at the heart of climate action. And that's the concept that we call the just transition. And the just transition is the idea that our transition to a net zero economy should and actually can be fair and inclusive. Collaboration and partnership are totally fundamental to place-based impact investing. Both parties needed to kind of understand the needs of the other, both in terms of the investor and the investee company. Places can be represented by local authorities or district councils, but also by their local business community, by educational institutions and cultural organisations, and groups of residents. And we also say investors in the plural. It's really unlikely that one single investor would be able to meet kind of all of the needs or take advantage of all of the opportunities in a given place. And so bringing kind of different kinds of investors together to focus on generating solutions for a place can be really powerful.